Boris Johnson was the MP around here for 8 years.
I used to love Boris.
Did you?
Yes.
Why?
I used to see him sometimes in Uxbridge. I love Boris, but if probably maybe Boris come, I'll vote for him again. I would vote for, yeah.
I'm talking to you on behalf of everybody that voted for Boris as our MP and our Prime Minister. It's only fair that it should be the people's decision who they vote for.
I quite liked him as a character, although lying to the public isn't really something you'd expect of a Prime Minister.
For 8 years, the good people of Uxbridge and South Ruislip have been represented by a less good people, Boris Johnson. But that all changes tomorrow when the GP of U&SR goes to the polls to choose their next MP. I'm here to find out what matters to them and whether they're really ready to say goodbye to Boris Johnson. You mentioned off camera that you're opening the postal votes and you've got a nice tradition you do every day. What's your tradition?
When I'm actually doing the postal votes, I actually wear different colours, different days.
So you've got your head's tone green today?
Yeah. Well, they actually say green goes with everything. I only hope it did.
On behalf of everybody that voted for Boris Johnson as our MP, I think it's so wrong and unfair that he's not our MP anymore and our votes have been taken away from us.
Yeah, I think because I tend to vote Conservative. I always have done, up until now.
That's very interesting. So what has swung your vote away from the Conservatives?
Again, for me, they haven't done much to help the common people. They haven't done much to help, again, I go back to child poverty. People that can't pay their bills are really struggling, and I don't see the government doing much about that.
So you voted for Boris Johnson last time?
I did.
Why are you glad Boris is gone?
Because he wasn't much use, really. Didn't do anything, never here. Clearly a liar. What can you say?
How long have you voted Conservative for?
Since the age of 18. Always.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a trend that we'll see across the country when it comes to the general election? People like you, lifelong Conservative voters, moving away from the party?
I think so. I think that'll be reflected in the votes.
There's a by-election here in Uxbridge tomorrow. How are you feeling about that?
I'm kind of indifferent to it, really. I'm just glad Boris is gone.
It depends. I wasn't happy voting for Boris, and I told that to him to his face. He did come to the first hustings, literally at the church over there, when he was parachuted in, and he came up to me during the coffee break and said, "Are you going to vote for me?" And I said no, and he was most upset about that. And I said, I'm not going to vote for you because I want a constituency MP. And I did say to him, I said, "You are Mayor of London for a year. As soon as you can, you'll be in the Cabinet. As soon as you can, you'll be Prime Minister." Of course, he said, "Oh, no, I'll do everything I can for Uxbridge." But he hadn't got the time, and I think often, to be honest, he hadn't got the inclination. And that obviously has affected a lot of people's feelings about, certainly him, and that may throw back on the Conservatives. We need a constituency MP. Way back we had a guy called John Randall. He stepped down to retire. Boris Johnson was parachuted in. There was an 11,000 majority to play with, which he obviously got in. But for the first year, whilst he was our MP, he was still Mayor of London, which is a full-time job. As soon as he finished being Mayor of London, he became Foreign Secretary, and after that he became Prime Minister. And you haven't got time to be a local MP. We've got major local issues.
I want to see the Conservatives out, so anything we can do to help and make a start in Uxbridge, I'm happy to.
Excellent. So you're voting Labour tomorrow?
No, a Lib Dem.
Excellent. Is that a contradiction in terms?
No, not at all. I just think as incompetent as the Conservatives are, I don't see Labour doing much better. They say they don't advertise what they're going to do instead. They just criticise the Tories. So for me, I want to see a real change, and I think the Lib Dems could be that change.
I think it's probably very difficult to draw lessons. A lot of people here are very dissatisfied with Boris Johnson, which may affect the Conservative vote. And obviously the two big issues at the moment locally are the extension of the ULEZ scheme, which a lot of people really don't want. It's going to affect people very badly. And the problem still with our police station.
The most for me is child poverty. So as a father, having children go to bed early, go to bed on an empty stomach, quite upsets me. So for me, any party that isn't prioritising eradicating child poverty they're not going to get my vote.
Are you alluding to Starmer's comments about the two-child benefit cap?
Yeah, so that's one aspect, but also the Tories concentrating on things such as migrant boats as opposed to helping kids.
You've given up on politics?
Yes.
Why have you given up on politics?
Because they promise and then they don't keep up with their promise. So all the politicians, this one will come and say this, that, we vote, and then they say, okay, like my problem is I live in Uxbridge and the ULEZ, because I've got an old car, so now I have to get rid of my car, which is not really fair. They want us to vote for them, but also they need to, like, do all the promises, like, So I'm not happy, and I don't think I'm going to vote tomorrow.
Really?
No.
Carer can't afford to pay £12.50 to use her car. The air pollution here in Uxbridge is only 2%. So this is just a rip-off. City Khan only cares about making money. He's bankrupt TFI. That's why he needs the money. And I would like to know what he's done with £5 million that Boris Johnson gave him.
Well, even the Conservatives are running on quite an
I'm
anti-ULEZ.
not gonna vote for Conservative.
Why not?
No. I mean, since they started, I just see like Britain is like going down.
Really?
Yes.
Think so?
Yes.
In what ways?
In so many ways. Like, we have to, like house rent. So many things I can't even say. Like, I'm not going to vote for them. Yeah.
I'm sure you and your viewers know that ULEZ was brought in by Boris Johnson, so it was brought in by the Conservatives, and we absolutely need ULEZ. I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson, but that's one of the few things that he did that was good, and it's great that Sadiq Khan is carrying it on. Arguably, people are dying because of poor air conditions and because of the exhaust fumes. It's great that we care about each other enough to want to do something about it. So no, I don't think ULEZ is an issue here.
The Conservative candidate hasn't been brandishing his leaflets and flyers with Conservative branding. It's been a more anti-ULEZ platform. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's quite telling. So what we're seeing through the letterbox is a lot of anti-ULEZ stuff and a lot of anti-Sadiq Khan, and really this kind of dog whistle politics is really worrying. Argue the argument, not the man. So to see some anti-Sadiq Khan rhetoric is really, I think, is really immature. It's really quite petty. Sadiq Khan's not standing. It's Danny Beales that's standing.
This is my last question for you, Debbie. If you could tell the Prime Minister one thing, what would it be?
I don't want him as our Prime Minister.
Is there anyone you prefer?
The people we voted for, Boris Johnson.
I thought you might say that.
No, but it's true, isn't it? I'm talking to you on behalf of everybody that voted for Boris as our MP and our Prime Minister. It's only fair that it should be the people's decision who they vote for, whether we want Boris Johnson or Raj or Sunak. Yeah, sorry.
But I think the bigger issues is more than ULEZ and the police station. You can actually see, especially, Hillingdon are operating food banks. So there is bigger issues than just what people are just talking about now, isn't it? I think in general, when you actually look around, the people are more focused. And I think, because I think on the voting paper, I think there's 17 or 18 candidates. But a lot of them are just doing ULEZ, which is an important issue, but again, is it relevant, because most of the time the people here, we've got very, very good central links to buses as well as trains and the tube and everything here. So it's going to be, don't know what else you want to know.